Hey guys, I posted a video recently suggesting that in the run-up to your mocks in higher level maths that you don't try to cover the entire course, study every topic on both papers, but instead you prioritise the more important topics on both papers and try and get those right. And somebody asked me a question, what would those topics be? What are the ones I would suggest you prioritise in the run-up to your mocks? So on paper 1, your two big hitters are your algebra and your calculus. Right, so in algebra, make sure you can do your simultaneous equations with the ones with 3 letters and the ones where one of the equations is quadratic. And make sure you're familiar with your cubic equations and factor theorem and your inequalities. And certainly as part of algebra, make sure you're familiar with logs and indices, exponential and logarithmic equations, and exponential and logarithmic functions, the practical applications of those, particularly maybe a logarithmic function. I think that's maybe a little bit more likely this summer because he didn't ask one on last year's paper at all. So I'd prioritise that for sure. And if you've done your calculus, try and make sure you include that. Your first principles, finding the turning points and points of inflection of a cubic function, working with related rates of change and max-min problems, the applications of that. They'd be the ones I'd prioritise for paper 1. All right. If you happen to have done integration, and you can use integration to find the areas between a curve and the axis or between two curves, I'd throw that in as well. So if you feel that you've got those under control, that's a really good bite taken out of paper 1. And some of you have been kind of saying to me in the grinds that you haven't covered calculus yet. That's perfectly fine. You've got plenty of time to cover that over the next kind of 4 months. So if you haven't done the calculus, I'd swap that out for maybe sequences of series and complex numbers. So do your algebra, do your complex numbers, do your sequences series, which include financial maths. Do those really well. But certainly if you've covered if you've covered calculus and algebra, I would say, and you feel that you've answered the questions on those pretty well on your mock, I would say you've got paper 1 worried.